Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. There's a link in our bio for our Discord server where you can join in on the discussions, give us your takes, give us comments, or just join in on a podcast. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
What is up, Rip City? Here we are, episode 25 of the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. And we had some crazy news over the weekend, which we had to do a special podcast for. So this is kind of in between episode 24 and 25. Here's a full podcast we got going. It's just me and Fawad tonight. Fawad, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I've just been swamped lately, but I love talking Blazers basketball, so let's get into it.
Yeah, and as we are talking right now, we're playing the Clippers. It's the second quarter, and the score's 36-30 Clippers. And as I'm sure most of you know, we do not have CJ, we do not have Dame, we do not have Nasir Little, we do not have Simmons. It's been a very strange game. And unfortunately, at the start of the second quarter, we saw our boy CJ Ellaby out there, and it was not pretty. So I'm surprised he was out that early. I don't know what's going on here, but we're going to hop into it. For those of you who are living under a rock and don't know, we fired our GM. Neil O'Shea is no longer with us. I'm sure this is old news to everybody, but it's still exciting for most of us, which then reignited the trade talks because now that O'Shea is gone, now the trade rumors are back around. So first off, Dame came out with a quote, and I don't know if it technically came straight from Dame. Do you know if it did or not?
I don't believe it did, no.
Okay. So take it with a grain of salt because we know Dame has said multiple times, if I want people to know, you will know from me. But with that being said, the report was that Lillard claimed he wants to play with Ben Simmons. Which, when I say that, he has made comments where he said he wants to play with Draymond Green, and that's like we have seen him say that. So that's an example of him coming out and saying it. So with that, how do you feel about that that article that came out about wanting to play with Ben Simmons?
I feel like I've said the same thing like 100 times by now, but I am slowly moving towards being okay with it. I've said it, like I've talked about in the past, how I feel like his deficiencies on offense are not. I don't want them on our team, and I think it would hurt Dame too, because people would be able to double him more freely. And I don't know. There's like a lot of things I talked about why I wouldn't want him, but the reason why and I don't think I don't give too much like I don't give too much value into, even if Dame does want him. First of all, the article didn't say that. It's sources close to Dame think he want
That's
him,
right. That's what
something
it's.
like that. But even if he did say it himself, like Dame probably wants to play with like any All-Star in the league. I don't think
Exact.
it's
That's exactly what I thought. That's like
yeah.
saying Lillard wants to play with LeBron James. Lillard wants to
I
play with
mean,
Michael
yeah,
Jordan. Of course, he
that
wants to
doesn't.
play with these guys.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. So, unless if he's telling the GM to go do whatever it takes to get Simmons, then that would be news. But right now, what we've heard is that's nothing. It's like literally nothing for me.
I'm glad I'm
Um,
not the only one that thought that, because that's exactly what I thought.
yeah, but yeah, the reason why I am starting to warm up to CJ for Dame is because CJ's been so disappointing, especially while Dame has been out. Normally he steps up, and right now he's playing probably not even as good as his normal game, and it's just really frustrating. Like, this is when you're supposed to start snapping, like average 25 and like 10 or something. While Dame is out, if we can't beat bad teams while he's out, honestly, we haven't even been beating we've barely been beating good teams while he has been healthy. So that's a whole different issue. But if CJ can't provide really any significant value, I think we should get rid of him. But then with that comes, if he doesn't have that much value, how do you get Simmons without throwing in picks, which I still am against? Maybe like one swap, but if there's a way to do CJ for Simmons, then maybe we should do that now.
Yeah, and just a little bit, we'll get into some more trade ideas, but I want to add on to that. I've gone back and forth. I started out saying I was all for Simmons being traded to us, and then once the drama with him happened, I was like, I don't want that for us. Seeing how bad we are defensively at this point, making that trade for CJ for Simmons, I feel like it is a good trade for us. Yes, our offense will probably suffer a little bit from the shooting standpoint. Simmons can still get to the basket. He can still play make. But the advantage he puts on defense for us, being able to help on defense even more than CJ ever could. And honestly, CJ, the last game he played before he got hurt, he had a pretty decent defensive game, especially in the third quarter. But I mean, that little one flash in the pan game that we had with CJ, that's like every night thing with Ben Simmons. And to me, right now, our defense is what is killing us. And it has been for the last couple of years. And if there's a way to do, like you said, CJ for Simmons without adding too much to it, to me, it's a no-brainer. With that being said, there was another report, once again, not from Lillard himself, saying that Dame is unhappy. And actually, you actually read the article a little bit. Do you have
I
exactly
skimmed
like
it.
what it said?
Yeah, I have it pulled up. Let me just see exactly. Mm. So like overall, I was just talking a lot about how the Blazers have been a mess lately, both from the front office, obviously, but then I also talked about how our defense has somehow got even worse than last year, when we said that probably wasn't possible.
It's not our fault, I swear.
Something interesting though that I just saw, you remember how they said the Olshey investigation it kept getting expanded and included the players at one point? So it says Blazers players were given an opportunity to speak with investigators, but all of them declined. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if that means they were in support of him or they. I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I just found it notable.
And that is weird.
But so then it says, what does that all mean for Lillard's future? It says the season has been unsettling for him. He has two main concerns. And this was the part I found really weird and why I didn't like this article. First thing was his desire for roster changes. Okay, yeah, he said that pretty much publicly. Like I know he wanted roster changes. But then the second thing that it said was a key concern for Dame was that he wanted Jason Kidd to be strongly considered. And like we did hear that was true, but he said Billups in the same sentence as him. So and he's known Billups for so long and he was incredibly like in support of him. So I don't see any reason why Dame would think, and plus Jason Kidd backed out of the coaching search himself. So yeah, so I don't see any reason why Dame would be unhappy about not choosing Kidd when that really wasn't an option outside of like a day or something. So yeah, I feel like that article was just trying to exaggerate what's there or just trying to create drama. Speaking of which, Dame like shut that down. Like he said something on Twitter, like y'all love to create drama, something like that.
Exactly.
Because I don't see that second reason, especially for like being a reason why Dame would be more unhappy now than he was before. Yeah, that's basically what the article was talking about.
Yeah, and to add to your points, Lillard came out the very first game, we all heard it, saying that this is going to be a long process. So he knew that things aren't going to go smoothly. Yes, things haven't probably gone as smoothly as we all thought it would, but to me, it's once again, it's just the media trying to make things happen. Their job is to report on stuff, and they're trying to dig up stuff and trying to make things happen. And you see it all the time. until we've said it 1,000 times, until Lillard comes out and says, I don't want to be here, I'm unhappy. Whatever I read in the reports, I take with a grain of salt. I could care less what they have to say. Whether they're saying, Lillard wants to stay, Lillard wants out. It doesn't matter until I hear Lillard say it, which he's come out multiple times and said, I will tell you if it's something from me. And I have no reason to doubt that.
I'm 100% on the same page as you. But I did finally found the exact wording that Shams used. He said that in recent weeks, sources say Lillard has grown frustrated with the team's play, and tension appears to be on the rise between the players and Billups.
And see, it's just until I hear that from them, to me, it's just media drama trying to start something. And I could be wrong. And you know what?
Maybe we're just biased, but
I mean, they're professional athletes. I'm sure they're pissed off that they're losing and they're getting blown out, and that I'm sure that loss to Boston the other night was embarrassing. And I want to talk about that real quick. That game was so embarrassing to watch. Not only was it at home, and yes, so CJ got hurt halfway through. Their bench was legitimately just messing around on the sideline in the fourth quarter while their bench and role players were out there torching us and scoring 145 points against us. And the only person on that entire roster that I saw get pissed off was Lillard. Lillard literally was on the side of the court yelling because these guys are going off and clowning us on our own home court. Did you see that game at all?
I did not. I've been swamped this entire week.
Actually,
I think I did catch the first quarter, but not the rest of it.
I have no issue, like I said, when Greg Brown did the between the legs jump or dunk. I have no issue with the role players coming in and playing and, shooting threes and all that and dunking it. You're supposed to play till the game's over, no matter what the score is. Our job is to not let you score, and their job is to not let us score. So I don't have a problem with them shooting threes like a lot of people did. My issue is the fact that you looked at our team, they were just like, oh, well, it's like having a good time. The bench players were out there running around, smiling, laughing, joking, and Lillard is on the sideline pissed off. And he's like, why are we letting this happen to us? And so there are parts of me that could believe, yeah, he's getting annoyed that our team isn't taking it serious like that, because that should never happen, especially at a home game. We should never let a team score 145 points against us. And if I remember right, I believe that's the record for most points scored against us at home. So just add on to it. We'll take a brief.
Yeah, and
go for
sorry,
it.
what were you saying?
I was just gonna say I'll take a brief pause to say the score is 43-40, with 3 minutes left. We're still down.
But yeah, I was saying, yeah, it's hard to be happy with our performance at all, and that game especially was, like I said, I missed most of it, but from what everyone's been saying, it was somehow even more embarrassing than the rest of our season. And about like what Sham said, Casey Holdall actually said it would be news if anyone was satisfied with how we've been playing. So
Yeah.
just further implying that it's nothing noteworthy at all. But what I find concerning is, like you said, it's the lack of energy, the lack of, like, I don't want to say care, but that's what it seems like sitting at home. I don't want to say that the players don't care about like their job really, but it just seems they're not fully engaged, and that's the most frustrating thing. I was kind of reminiscing to the Stotts days a little bit, because even though we were extremely flawed that whole time, there were very few times that I can remember where I felt like our effort wasn't there. And if it was, it might have been just like one or two game stretches, and then I felt like we always gave it our all, and sometimes, a lot of the times, that wasn't enough. But I feel like our heart was there, and it was fun to root for that team. This team is not fun to root for at all.
Not at
I
all.
honestly don't even know what the issue is. I don't think it's fully because the players aren't thing. I don't think it's fully on Billups either. Even the defense, I don't think is fully on him. Although he probably does play a big part of that in that, and I think we'll talk about that later as well. To So yeah, that's one of the most frustrating parts for me as well, because I don't even know where the issue is coming from. I think with Stotts, we knew what the issues were and we could pinpoint them easily. Right now, there's like 100 different things, and they probably all play a factor. That also makes it worse because then it's not easy to fix too if there's multiple things
Exactly.
wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've just been so frustrated this entire season. It's getting to a boiling point.
Well, and that's going to segue into our next little talking point here. It is Chauncey Billups, and I know that last podcast that we had, we talked a little bit about Billups and how we felt. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about it. First off, after the Boston Celtics game, here's a couple quotes. I'm going to read this first one to you. He said, after the game, for the first time all season, I spoke tonight after the game to the team. It wasn't emotional. He didn't yell at him. He just talked normal. To me, this being the first time he's done that is kind of crazy to me after 20, what is it, 22 games? Him finally coming in and talking and saying something after the game. It blows my mind. He's supposed to be putting an address on things, and it takes us getting smoked and destroyed by Boston by, 30 points or however much it was for him to finally be like, okay, I should go in there and say something. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I saw that quote as well, and I don't know fully how much. Like I didn't fully understand what it meant because like, does he? I don't know what he does normally, so I didn't really have like a frame of reference to, but maybe he just talks with his coaches first and then talks to the players after, and maybe that's fine. But I uh, I don't even know what I'm saying. I guess on what the small bright note is that at least he's finally doing something about it, even though he should have done it way sooner. And there have been other losses that have been like almost as bad as this one. Um, but like what you said, he talked so much about accountability, and I don't know how much of that we're seeing outside of just little sound bites to the media. Maybe he's holding them accountable in practice. We don't know. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. If he is, it's not showing up on the court. Um, he's definitely not saying names to the media either. He's just saying general statements about effort and about being mad. So I don't know how much the accountability is there. And just a quick side note, a lot of people were unhappy with what he was saying, but like he shouldn't be saying that about his players. That was part of the reason why we are all happy about
Yeah,
or
exactly.
people that were happy about it. That's why they were happy because we wanted this type of accountability and we wanted a coach who doesn't just give the same generic answers to the media and he actually like talks about the issues. So like he's been saying the right things from day one, and we've all been patient with the on-court product, and I think we're all collectively realizing that there has been no change despite everything that he's been saying. And yeah, I
Well, to your point, he then goes on to say this. I've never seen a team that needs its bench to inspire our starters. The shit is crazy to me. It's supposed to be the other way around. And he's right. The bench should not be the
100% right.
ones that are coming in and giving us the energy and, bringing us back and giving us the plays that we need. But that's also a little bit on his part where he keeps coming out with the same lineups every time. Switch things up. If you already addressed that changes might need to be made and you still haven't made those changes, now you're being forced to make changes because of injuries. But to say that and then not do anything about it still, it's crazy. It feels like he's saying these things. He's not doing them. He's just saying them to say them and then just goes back out expecting to have a different outcome. I think energy wise, yes, Nasir Little brings a ton of energy. Yes, Larry Nance brings a ton of energy. I don't necessarily think that means they both need to be starting. I think if you take both of them off the bench and put them in the starting lineup, our bench now is weaker, less energy. But maybe one of them in the starting lineup, whether that's Nance or Little, to me, make a little change and see if that makes a difference. I don't know how you feel about it, so I'm gonna let you go because I'll just keep ranting about it. It's crazy to me that we, like you said,
says the right things, and that's why a lot of us liked what he, when we hired him, he was saying the things we all like to hear. He's just not acting on it. So if you have anything you want to add to it, go for it.
I think you covered it pretty well, but yeah, it's been evident pretty much the whole season that the starters don't play with energy at all, and the bench has been pretty great most nights. Sometimes they're just okay, but that's to be expected from a bench. But yeah, it's so rare, and it's upsetting to see that the bench has to inspire the starters. And honestly, I don't think they are inspiring the starters at all because there's been no change or improvement
No,
in
not
that
at
end.
all. Yeah, it's
It's from
weird.
everyone too. That's the worst part. I was talking about this with my friend the other day. He was asking me like because like he's not a Blazers fan, so he was asking me what I think the issues are, and if there's like someone who's checked out, and I don't think there is one person or even two people that are like checked out. I think it's most of the team, and also at the same time, I don't think they're fully checked out. I think they're just going at like 70%. And when there's five guys going at 70, it adds up and it looks really bad instead of like one guy just being completely checked out and he like wants out. But yeah, CJ looks uninterested. Um, Nurk has his up and downs, and right now he's in a little bit of a down. Dame's been out, but even then he was injured and would have been better. Um, a lot of people have talked about how Rocco seems checked out as well. I actually think he was doing better for a stretch there for a bit, but for most of the season he's been um pretty low energy. I feel like Norm has been one of the better ones to be honest, and then again the bench has been pretty consistently energetic.
Yeah, I think out of all the starters, Norm has been the most consistent, and unfortunately, he's also been one of the least used players on the
Yeah,
starting lineup.
yeah,
So
for sure.
Dennis Smith just hit a huge three to put us up by one with 8 seconds left in the second quarter. But like you said, it just seems like they're going through the motions on this, especially with the starters. It seems like they're just going through the motions and expecting Lillard to, carry the load, CJ to, carry the load. And it's team basketball, and that's what we need. And it's just crazy to me that, like Billups said, that our bench has to be the ones to come in and bring the energy and it doesn't seem right. It's not what we're used to. We're used to the starters being the ones that are carrying everything and then hating to have the bench come in. And now it's almost like we're hoping the bench comes in sooner so they can get going.
Yeah, not once in the last several years I've found myself thinking that like hurry up and like let the bench in already.
Right?
Um, it's crazy. I love our bench a lot, and then at the same time, it just shows how bad our starters are. But yeah, speaking of Norm, look what happens when he has a bigger role in the offense. He has 18 points at halftime right now on 8 for 15 shooting. He needs to be more involved, and he's like one of the few guys left on the team that actually seems like they care.
Well,
Um,
I mean, we've said that so many times where, Dame or CJ are shooting, 8 of 23, and then you've got Norm shooting 8 of 12. And it's like, why are we okay with CJ, trying to get himself going and shooting, or Dame shooting and shooting, when you have a guy that's so consistent, and he's pretty much been consistent all season long. We need
yes.
to use him more, which is another reason why I think trading CJ and moving him to the right spot at the two guard is even more of a need now than it has been before.
Imagine how much better he would be if he was going up against um twos consistently instead of threes who are usually bigger than him.
Yeah, and
His offense and defense would be better.
and I mean the workload. We'd probably even get better offense out of him because he's not working as hard to guard someone
Yeah,
over.
sure.
So I mean, it's even more of a like a there's even more interest to get him at the two instead of a three. It's just there's things that seem like such no brainers, and yet I don't know why Neil O'Shea was so set on not doing anything.
Yeah, and then
Probably explains why he's not here.
but like now at this point, also comes down to or it's become that how many people want CJ anymore. His value has
Exactly.
gone so down compared to a couple of years ago, because he's gotten older and because he's like stagnated. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that we can even get from anymore.
So, with that being said, let's segue into one of our last talking points. It's some trade ideas. Obviously,
Actually,
you got something else? Go for it.
kind of a longer topic, so let's just quickly touch on it. But actually, we already did touch on it a little bit. But our defense somehow it got worse. First of all, we were 27th 2 years ago, and we thought no way it could get worse. Then we were 29th, and now it's like okay, literally, there's only one spot below us. There's no way we can get worse. We got a new coach. We're gonna be top half, and we're 30th now, and by a wide margin too. So, what do you think the biggest issue is, or what are some of the issues? Like, do you think it's all? How much of it is the roster? How much of it is the coaching? How much of it is the players' effort? Do you think?
We've talked about it a little bit, and to me, it's such an easy answer, and it's so easy to see when we're watching these games. Our guards, both Dame, CJ, Ant, sometimes even Norm, constantly get beat while they are guarding someone with the ball. And it's whether they're being screened or not, the whoever has the ball is blowing by them, which then is causing our defense to be in help defense the entire time, and everybody's rotating. I mean, how many games do we have to hear from the announcers? Wow, this team never shoots this good. Wow, they're shooting 80% from three. Like, that is because we're constantly leaving one person open because we're constantly rotating and having to play help defense. Our on-ball defense is atrocious. There is not anything good about it. Not a single player, honestly. Roko's getting beat on ball. Norm gets beat. Out of everybody, he's probably the least amount that gets beat in the starting lineup, at least. But Dame and CJ are, without a doubt, getting just destroyed on offense on defense. Sorry. And I think to me, that's the biggest issue. If you can have a guy that can stay in front of somebody and not let them get beat. Yes, I know that screens are, hard to get around, but it's even when players aren't screened. I've seen so many times a screen gets set, a light screen, and Simmons has wanted to switch on it. And it's like something that you can fight through. And then that switch creates a mismatch that creates help defense having to rotate. And it's just like at some point, and maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to claim I'm any good at basketball like an NBA player would be, but to me, it's like a pride thing. There's no way in hell that I would be like, yeah, this guy's blowing by me every time, and I don't have an issue with it. I would be so pissed off if someone was blowing by me. If I was constantly getting beat, I would be so pissed off. I probably would be fouling the shit out of everybody because it's like, at some point your pride has to kick in and be like, this dude is not beating me again. He's not going to cross me over and go left, go right. It doesn't matter what he does. He's not going to get by me. And it doesn't seem like we do that. And I'm ranting because I get pissed off when I watch this happen every game. But to me, that's what it is. On-ball defense is terrible. And until we make trades to get players that are better at guarding on ball, our defense is going to be garbage.
Everything you said is absolutely 100% true. But I also don't think it's that simple. Like part of what you said, a lot of what you said is on the players, but some of it is on the coaching scheme as well. And we've had Damon CJ for years, and we've had better defenses. So I'm trying to figure out what changed and why are we so much worse. Like a couple of years ago, we were sixth in I think 2018. 16th in 2019. Even like that's bottom half, but it's just around the middle. That like I would love to be 16th right now. So what changed from those 2 years and then 27, 29, and now 30th this year? So one thing maybe you can say that David Vanterpool left because that's exactly when it lined up, but I don't think an assistant coach is gonna have that much of an impact, even though it is possible that him going did have an impact. But then and then I think the year we were 27th, I think that was the year everyone was injured. So a lot of us chalked it up to injuries, me myself included. And 29th, which was last year, it started to be like, okay, like there's no more excuses. So what? But then even though we were 29th last year, one sec. This is on Reddit. Piano 9717 made a really good post breaking down a lot of the issues this year, and he pointed out, and a lot of us talked about it in the summer too. But our starting lineup was actually good defensively, not even just above average. But our starting line last year was good, um, and he said elite, so like let's go with elite. And then it was the bench that was the issue. But now this year it's the same starting lineup, but now the starters suck too, and the bench defense isn't great either. What has changed? And he pointed out a lot of things that um, we're trapping too hard, especially on non-shooters, and then that leaves us to guys have to rotate really quickly, and that leads to every time you rotate, it lets the offense. It gives them a moment to take advantage, and then if we aren't good at rotating ourselves, it leads to wide open threes all the time, like almost every possession. So a lot of it is according to him, and like what he said makes sense. A lot of it is from the scheme as well, not just our individual players. But then, uh, so it comes down to, for me, it's like, is it the scheme or is it the player's effort or is it their ability? Because I feel like they have the ability to be better, and the scheme, it has flaws because they are, like trapping too aggressively. But then on some teams, by like if we're trapping non-shooters too much, the teams that have good shooters, that should translate to good defense. But I feel like it's not working there either. Um, so then does it come down to effort and why? And if it is effort, how do you fix that? I don't know what the answer is. Do they not buy into the coach? Are they just tired of Portland and want to get off the Blazers? I don't know how you fix effort, and I really hope that the answer is that it is scheme or ability, because those are relatively fixable through trades or changing the scheme up. But effort is extremely concerning, and I am concerned about this entire season because I don't see us changing our defense anytime soon, or improving our defense anytime soon.
And first off, you said that was Piano 9717 on Reddit.
Yeah.
So shout out to Piano because that is I just looked it up and that was a pretty good little rundown he had of it. So shout out to Piano.
I think he
But
had videos as well.
yeah, he did. So one thing I want to add is, to me, the effort thing, like I said just a little bit ago, it's all pride. If you take pride in not letting somebody score, that's going to bring your effort level up. And I'm not saying that Lillard and CJ don't have pride, or not at all. But it just, to me, at least for me, let me put it that way. At least for me, when I was playing basketball, if someone was going at us and torching us, my pride would take over, and I'm like, dude, this dude is not doing this anymore to us. Someone else can, but this dude's not, and I'm not going to let him, or I'm at least going to make it as hard as possible for him to. The other thing I wanted to address was, you asked what was different. The only thing that kind of came up in my mind was, in years past, we were able to hide Dame and CJ a little bit more. We had Aminu, we had Mo Harkless, who had length, so we were able to kind of hide them. Not necessarily like, completely just, who
No,
cares,
I
they're
get what
out
you're
there.
saying.
But there was ways that we could kind of keep them off if they did get beat. There was a way to kind of hide that with that length that we had, and length is one of the issues we have right now. So,
Yeah, and we had Mo guard the best perimeter guy a lot of the
yep,
times and tried to put
yep.
Dame on some of the weaker guys. Then
And
we have like Oko and Norm are both good defenders too, so why isn't that working now?
well, I think one thing is length. So Mo was long, so he
Yeah.
was still agile enough to move with players. One thing that I still see with Rocco is he's slowed down a lot, so he's getting beat on ball, but off ball he's still a very good defender, and he gets his hand on a lot of passes. Not saying he's not a good on ball defender, but what we're used to seeing from him from even years past before he came to Portland, he's definitely slowed down a little bit. So putting him on their best player that's going to have the ball a lot, I don't know if that would work. And with Norm, yeah, he's a good defender, but he's undersized. So anybody that's 6'5" and up, he's at a disadvantage right away. And honestly, this game tonight, he's guarding Paul George, and I've been watching it. He's stayed in front of Paul George most of the time. Paul George is just elevating up over and above him and getting off shots, even though he's right there in front of him. So I think it's a length issue, which is something Ben Simmons would help with, something Siakam could help with. So defense gets me fired up because it's like it's just an effort thing, really, is what it is. If you put your effort, like if you really, really, really put your look at Marcus Smart, look at Patrick Beverly. Those guys are undersized,
but they're out there like going for it. They do not care. And I mean, Beverly's like prime example. That dude he don't care who it is. He is in your face. And yes, it's annoying, but at the same time, if he's on your team, you love it.
Yeah, and he's a big part of why Minnesota's defense has actually been really good this year,
Yep.
especially compared to years past. But I'm glad he brought up Simmons and Siakam because we can segue into trades. But right as I do that, I don't know how much one player is even going to help at this point unless they are like a Beverly type of guy where they just motivate every single person and they kind of take the lead on the defensive end. But if it's just a good defensive player, even if they're as good as Ben Simmons, if they aren't motivating the team as much, I don't think one player can fix this issue. We're the 30th. I think like how much higher can one guy make us? So
Yeah,
we
I
need like an
100%
enforcer,
agree.
like Beverly, like a Draymond,
Yep.
have
I
the
don't
personality as well.
I don't think one trade for one player is the answer. I don't think trading CJ for Ben Simmons is it's gonna make a difference, but I don't think that's the only thing that's not the only thing we have to do, and then we're back into being, this top tier team. So I 100% agree with you. I think it's a good first step, but there's still more that has to be done.
Mhm.
So with that, I saw a couple trade rumors, and I made a couple, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it with you. So the first one is I saw a trade rumor. I've never seen
Was
this
it
one
a rumor
before.
though, or was it just like someone saying what
I
they want to see?
I think it was just like a, hey, this could work out for both
Oh, okay.
teams kind of thing. And essentially,
Yeah.
that's what my trade scenarios that I made up were.
Mm.
So the trade scenario was CJ being traded to the Pacers for Miles Turner. And the article says, and Karis LeVert, which I would have assumed it would just be for one or the other, which to me would be Miles Turner. It wouldn't be Karis LeVert. But how do you feel about CJ for Miles Turner and Karis LeVert?
CJ for Miles Turner and Karis LeVert.
And I'll preface this by saying this. It says that they have Malcolm Brogdon, they have Sabonis, and it says here that Brogdon and Sabonis provide a nice 1-2 scoring punch, but LeVert's isolation style of play seems to interfere with Brogdon being their primary facilitator. So for this team, and Turner is more of a defensive styled player. So what they're saying is CJ brings that offensive shooting, he doesn't have to necessarily have the ball 24/7 because we've seen him be a spot up shooter before. And he can still kind of be a playmaker where I think he's averaging like 4 assists right now, 4 or 5 assists. So they're essentially saying you're giving them the offensive player and you're getting rid of an ISO ball player and a defensive player, which is what Portland would need.
Yeah, but they are also getting an ISO player in return as well in CJ.
True.
Even though he does have probably more playmaking ability than Vert. But yeah, I like the value for us. I like Turner a lot, and I think LeVert could be um, a good fit too. He's long-ish. He can probably play the three decently enough. Times, not maybe not starting there the whole time. But I have two issues with this. One, I don't know how Turner and Nurk would coexist, so I think that would mean that Nurk would have to be traded elsewhere, and we get something else in return.
Mm-hmm.
So as like if that, I guess like contingency is there, then I think that could work for us. Otherwise, it might be kind of awkward. And the second thing is that
Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Mike has returned and has joined in the podcast. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. We are winning. It's 4 a.m., so I'm good.
Mike.
What?
I'll just quickly finish what I was saying while he figures out his mic situation. Oh, Mike's mic. But yeah, I don't know how much Indiana would love it because I think the fit is okay. I think CJ could work in that system, and then it would allow them to move Sabonis to the 5 if they wanted as well. But where I think they might be hesitant is that I think they might be able to get better offers from someone else for Miles Turner, because I think a lot of contenders would be interested in him. He might be able to offer more than we can. Other than that, I think it's a decent trade.
Yeah, and when I was making these trades, I wasn't even considering that other teams might be offering better trades than what we did. To me, I was just trying to make trades that made sense for each team. But you're exactly right. There could be someone offering a better trade for Turner and Levert than just CJ. So,
Because I think
Mike,
value-wise, we definitely win that.
yeah, I would say so too. Mike, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing well.
I'm happy you are here. It's been a long time since we've all three been in here.
Yeah.
So
It's tough
we're talking
schedule.
about trades right now. Um, I came up with one trade that financially worked, and I kind of felt like each team had a decent reason for making the trade. So I just wanted to see what you guys thought. And this one's it's a 3-team trade, so we're gonna get 2 players out of this. So we're sending Nurkic and Simmons to the Raptors for Siakam. And then we are sending CJ to the Pacers for just Miles Turner. And then also to make money work Jeremy Lamb, which hasn't been playing very well for the Pacers from looking at his statistics. I honestly haven't watched them very much, so I couldn't say that for sure. But statistic-wise, hasn't been a very good year for him. Would go to the Raptors. And then I would assume we'd probably have to throw in some kind of pick to the Pacers in order for them to want to do that. That gives the Raptors some expiring contracts. It also gives them at least 1 year with Nurkic. And if they want to re-sign Simons, they could. It also gives the Pacers CJ, which we just kind of talked about a little bit, and then it gives us Siakam and Miles Turner. How do you guys feel about it? Let's go with Mike since he's here finally. Mike, how did you feel about that trade?
Uh, although I like it, it sounds a lot 2K for me.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of the problem.
It's a 2K
Can
trade.
you hear Mike? I
but
can't hear him.
Oh, I can hear Mike. You can't hear him?
No.
Mike said it's like a 2K trade.
Okay, I think I'm good now.
Go for it,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah. Although it's not super unrealistic because the players that you mentioned are kind of in positions that they should be open to trades, especially Miles Turner being there. He's
Yeah.
kind of losing his prime. Siakam, he may be open to. In that way, it's realistic, but I don't see us nowhere
Yeah,
near that move.
Yeah, 3-team trades like this with this many big name players is very rare. My whole point was I know the Raptors have OG and Anunoby, he's finally like playing really well. They have Scotty Barnes, who's a rookie that's playing really well. Truly, they don't need those 3 guys. I mean, it's a nice to have those 3 guys, but I feel like Siakam's the odd man out at that point, and they're more willing to move him because of those 2 guys. Fawad,
Yeah,
do you have anything for that?
I think they would be more willing to move Siakam as well because of those 2 guys. I also don't think they're dying to move him. I think they can make it work at least short
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
But I do think they would consider this trade. But we're like ripping, or I don't know about ripping them off, but we're getting the best value by far. I think it would require at least 1, probably 2 picks going, maybe 1 to each team or something like that, to make it work. Because otherwise, I think we just we win this by like too wide of a margin for them to say yes.
Okay, so let's just say, for example, they're okay with the trades, both teams, if we add a first round pick for both of them, for both teams. Are you guys okay with doing that? Because essentially that's buying in 100%. You're going for a championship. You're not planning for the future. You're doing it right now. How do you feel about that?
So just to double check, so we would get Siakam and Turner, and
And
then
Turner.
we would give up who?
It was CJ, Nurkic, and then Simons.
And 2
Because
picks.
I have a feeling Simons isn't coming back this year. I have a feeling we're not going to choose to re-sign him unless CJ's traded. I feel like having this many small guards, they're going to move on from that.
I don't feel too confident about Simons coming back either, but I think that we would trade him at the deadline, and if we don't, then we might try to keep him.
Yeah.
Because like to retain some value. But yeah. Anyways, I do like that a lot. If there's a way to trade, actually no. Yeah, no, I like that a lot for us. Even though we do give up 2 picks and Simons, but I think it's fair enough for both the other 2 teams, even though we're probably still winning. But I mean, Pacers need to rebuild, so they would probably appreciate the pick. They're a mess right now, and then Raptors are kind of like in a in between phase where they are rebuilding, but they're trying to make the playoffs as well. So they get a solid player in Nurk. And did you say Ant goes there as well, or
Ant
does he go
goes
to?
to Toronto, yep.
And
And
he
so
gets
does
the-
Jeremy Lamb. Which
okay,
is
and
why
then
I didn't include the first to Toronto, because they were kind of getting a decent amount of players there for Siakam.
and Simons is a good young guy to help to work with the rebuild as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
So I think they would consider it, but again, like I think we are still winning, so it's I do like it overall.
Well, if that's all it takes, then sign me up to be the GM. I'll make it happen, baby.
I'll put in the call to Jody right now.
But honestly, Fantasyland it probably won't. More than likely, won't happen. It's fun, kind of messing around with the trade machine and seeing what kind of things you can make work. At one point, I had a trade that gave us Brandon Ingram, Turner, and Siakam. Somehow, I managed to make that work. No way that would even happen, but it was fun to see. Mike, do you have any trade suggestions for CJ or for anybody, honestly, that you would like to see?
Well, if I'm not going out on a limb here. It's CJ for Simmons. I think it's the right deal. It's realistic. Um, it's the right deal for both teams. If we're being honest, Simmons isn't doing anything in Philly, and CJ is just making our system not work. By playing Norm at the 3. For example, Norm is now playing at the 2, and at halftime he already beat his point per game.
Yeah, and
Um,
Fawad is for that trade now, pretty much. But he does have one issue, and I'm curious what you think. Are you okay with adding picks or adding another player along with it for
no,
Simons?
no. He's 25 years old. Let's be honest. He's not going to get any better than he already is. Um, are we taking that much advantage in taking him? We're also taking 4 years of 33 million.
Hmm.
And we're giving exactly what Philadelphia needs, which is a guard that can score and that can create his own shot. So at tops, one first round pick, protected lottery, but I wouldn't go over that.
Yeah, it would definitely have
Um,
to be heavily protected. That's for sure.
yeah, and if people want me to go a little bit more crazy than just straight up CJ for Simmons, I'd send Nurkic too because I'm not liking him this season, and I'd get Andre Drummond and Furkan Korkmaz back.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Well, I'm a big Drummond fan, so you might understand that.
I was
And
expecting Melo. Honestly.
I was trying to include him on a 3-team trade, but I decided to hold back on that.
I mean, Drummond is a more than serviceable player, but the question he's only on a 1 year deal, correct?
Yeah,
Which so is Nurkic, but do we re-sign him after that? I mean, I get how old is Drummond? I don't even know how old he is.
he is 28.
Okay, so he's only
Really?
1 year older than
Younger than
Nurkic.
that.
So I mean, it's not terrible, but I could
Like
see it. I could see it.
I can feel that Drummond would fit well. Playing with Dame and creating space, getting those boards, because he plays hard and
He definitely sets solid screens, and
yeah,
he is a hard worker and defensive. You know, he does bring some help on defense. That is interesting.
yeah.
I never thought about it. And he's a rebound
Sure.
king.
Yes.
Fawad, do you have any trades off the top of your head that you like?
Well, there's the Jeremy Grant one that I've been saying
Oh
for a
yes,
while, which
Jeremy
is
Grant.
I think it's like CJ and a pick for Jeremy Grant. And then it was filler. I think it was like Corey Joseph and the guy, I'm forgetting his name, Josh Jackson or something like that, I think. Yeah. And then there was another one I was looking into a little while ago. I don't remember if the money worked or not, so I'm trying to pull that up right now. But it was basically a 3-team trade where it doesn't fix our defense at all, I'll be honest, but I think the fit on offense is a lot better. Where we get Hayward, so CJ for Hayward, and then the Hornets, like either that is the trade itself, but I feel like the Hornets might not go for that, or they trade. I don't remember who I had, but they get Christian Wood in return because I feel like they do need a center for sure. But I don't remember who I had them sending out.
Mhm.
Might have been Rozier, but I don't remember. But yeah, basically
mean-
on our end it was CJ for Hayward.
I mean, Hayward, I think is probably a little bit better defensively than CJ is.
Yeah, he's better
so-
than CJ for sure, and he that lets Norm go to the 2 as well.
Exactly.
one
Exactly.
of my
That's to
biggest
me, that's the
reasons.
biggest thing there. Moving
Yeah.
him to the 2. Do any of you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Just that prior to today, I went to the trade machine, and it says like the trending players, and like it's literally almost all the Blazers roster and Ben Simmons there. So yeah,
You gotta
I think
love it.
now it's just a matter of time. Finally, we can say this. They finally understood that running it back for the 7th year isn't gonna cut it now. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
I
see
think
if they.
trades are coming.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
yeah,
Well, Mike, I'm glad you got in here for at least a little bit. It's been a while since we got to really talk, so I'm glad you're in here.
yeah. Same here. And especially when we're winning, which we were when I joined, but we kind of fumbled the lead.
We are tied, and it's 7 minutes, 62-62 in the third quarter. We are tied. So
We got this.
honestly, no CJ, no Dame, no Little, no Simmons. I will
No
take
problem.
this. Yeah, I will take this. We're playing pretty decently. Other than that, Fawad, do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Nope, I'm good. We got a lot out. But speaking of the game right now, Nurk has 19 on 8 for 10. So
Yes,
that's
he
really
does.
good to see.
And it's against Zubac, who owned him the first time we played them. And I can't remember the second game. I can't remember how he did that, how well he did.
I don't remember either.
But with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate everyone that's come in and listened. We have, I'm trying to think here. Do we have anything we want to talk about? I don't think so. I think we'll just
I
wrap
think
it
we're
up.
good to wrap up.
Yeah. If you guys haven't, I'm gonna kind of talk about this again real quick. The Twitter Spaces. It's actually I've enjoyed it a lot lately. We've been joining those and talking with everybody in there. It's a good time. So
Yeah, it's
once
really
again, if you guys haven't yet and you have a Twitter and you're following us, it should pop up on your feed that we're in this Twitter Spaces and you can come in and talk Blazers basketball. It's a good time. Everyone in there is pretty friendly and we all have a pretty good time. Other than that, I hope everybody has a good night. Mike, Fawad, thanks for joining. And as always, Rip City, baby.